James, Coach's Corner here, as we used to call it at least, but it's our coach interview, I guess, is what we've reverted to in our video season here.
hmm
Couple weeks ago, I think it was Coach Cerezulo from Springfield that we had on just as he entered
Yep.
my top 25 ballot. And we have another case of good timing, I guess, in terms of our coach invite, because before I knew who you were going to invite on, I actually had put my ballot in, and much to the chagrin, perhaps, of this guest, he is on my ballot now because that can tend to be the kiss of death. We know that. But
Right.
Alfred is number 24 on my ballot, as you'll see here as we run it on the screen. So go ahead and introduce our coach guest.
Yeah, from Alfred University, head coach Bob Rankl. Welcome, coach.
How we doing?
Doing well. Hey, so I know Frank's giving you a hard time, but we want to remind people that you guys are the defending Lambert Cup champions, the best team in the East region from 2016, the only ever undefeated Empire 8 championship team. So, I mean, I think a couple of people might have dinged you a little bit in weeks 1 and 2 with a couple of close calls to Ithaca and Utica, but in week 4, it was kind of my game of the week. You guys took on a Buff State team that was also undefeated, and you guys shut them down in a very impressive defensive performance. Tell us a little bit about the game prep going into the Buff State game and how that game unfolded for you guys.
Well, I thought Coach Morgan, our defensive coordinator, put together a great game plan designed to try to kind of contain their quarterback. They got a great quarterback, Kyle Hoppy, who's a dual threat quarterback, and we wanted to kind of keep him in the pocket. And I'll tell you, early on in the game, he was converting some real long third and longs, and they were converting on some fourth downs. And it was a little scary, but in the second half, our defense really took control of that football game, and really proud of what Coach Morgan and our defense accomplished.
Coach, I want to focus a little bit on offense. I was talking to our friend Pat Coleman at D3FB.com before we started the interview today, and he actually asked me to kind of look at this question, which I intended to, but he's kind of zoomed in on it himself. You have a quarterback, Tyler Johnson, who is gone at this point, graduated off, and he was a great starter for you. How many, 40-plus game starter was it?
4 straight years, yeah. He was a great football player.
And now you have Bryce Morrison, a junior engineering major, no less. So obviously he's got a good mental acuity just in his academics alone, let alone on the football field. But coming into the season, how did you adjust for him to maybe perform as well as he's doing right now? Did you have to shrink the playbook? Did you have to make any changes? How did it go from the transition there from Johnson to Morrison?
Well, Bryce has been playing very well. Bryce actually got injured and was not our starting quarterback in the game against Buffalo State. We ended up starting Casey Boston, who's a sophomore. They're both excellent football players. They're both excellent leaders. But Bryce had been a little injured, and we thought, at the time, Casey gave us a better opportunity to win that football game.
And that's right.
And
Casey went 11 of 16 for 153 yards, had a couple of touchdowns. But really, when you look at the box score, Coach, I mean, one of your your top offensive players that maybe doesn't get overlooked, but Tyler's records from last year, passing all that, definitely made you guys a high flying offense. But Maliki Fuentes, 109 yards, 22 carries. And it looked like you guys maybe had to go to the run game a little more with the quarterback transition after Bryce got hurt. Hopefully he's okay. But it does seem like at least Casey stepped in and did pretty well, and you have Fuentes there to help carry the load.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback's best friend is always having a solid run game, and that's something that we believe in here at Alfred University. And our offensive coordinator is Coach Scott Lynn. He does a great job of putting together a solid running game week after week, and it's something that we believe in. And we want to be a physical offense, and that starts by running the football.
So let's look ahead here, because if I told you before the season began that the Game 5, Week 6 opponent that you'd face would be 0-4, you'd probably look at me and say, Frank, you're crazy, or crazier than normal, I'm sure some people would say. But, I mean, St. John Fisher right now, coming into this game 0-4, did you see that coming? And does that maybe concern you that they kind of bullseye a team like you right now as, hey, this is a way to get back on track this season? and maybe your team the players overlook St. John Fisher based on that 0-4 record right now.
Yeah, I don't think our guys are going to overlook St. John Fisher. I can promise you that. And to answer your original question about, did I think they'd be 0-4? Absolutely not. I've been watching film, and they're a dangerous football team still, and we know that we're going to have to go out and play a good football game. We're playing up at their place, and you're right. There's no doubt about it. With right now for them at 0-4, they're going to be scratching and clawing and doing everything they can to get themselves on the board with a victory. So, but yeah, I'm as surprised as anyone else to see that they haven't gotten a win yet this season.
Coach Bob Rankl with us here on In the Huddle, head coach, Alfred University. James, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's all right. I was just taking a peek at your schedule, Coach. I mean, every year in Empire, 8 teams are gonna, you guys run the gauntlet. But one of the things I noticed is that you guys had your bye week in week 2, and now you're basically, playing for effectively 10 straight weeks. You're not quite halfway through that after the Fisher game, or Cortland you will be. But what are your thoughts as a coach? Does it matter when you have the bye? Would you rather have had it in week 10, something to look forward to, or is it just one of those things, the schedules fall the way they fall and you just got to roll with it?
Last year we had it right at week 5, and if I had my choice, I would put it in the middle of the season just to kind of break the season up a little bit. But we don't have that choice. The conference kind of decides. It's a revolving bye week, so it is what it is. And bye weeks can work for you. They can work against you sometimes. Sometimes if you have a little momentum and you got things rolling, sometimes you're better off just keeping going. So we'll be fine with where it is.
Coach, the Empire 8 has seen some changes, obviously, over the last, let's say, 5 to 6 years. Frostburg and Salisbury had rolled in, then rolled out. You have some state schools now in the mix in the Empire 8. Ithaca has now gone over to the Liberty League, although they retained a lot of Empire 8 opponents, and they're now out of conference schedule. What is your own feeling right now about the state of the Empire 8? Why is Alfred chosen to remain? Obviously, there are options on the table all over the place to be able to shift over to Liberty League, to other conferences. Why has Alfred remained where they are, at least in a football sense, as far as you're concerned?
Well, I think it's a great conference to be in, and I don't know. I like the competition that we have. There's a combination of the state schools and the private schools, and it's good football, and it's where we want to be. We've never considered going in any other direction, so I think it's a good spot for Alfred.
Well, James, his team has performed well, no matter who's been thrown at them on their in-conference and out-of-conference schedule of late. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be a challenge coming up this week. What are your own thoughts, James?
Well, the one thing, even in the case of Fisher, struggling, they present an interesting challenge. And you, Coach, being an ex-defensive lineman, can probably appreciate this somewhat. The 3-3 stack is not an easy defense to prepare for. There's a lot of different ways it can be lined up, disguised, blitzes, and stuff like that. So I'm sure Coach is probably pretty busy, cracking the tape, and even a Fisher team that might be down. Just the fact that some of the athletes that they have, and that the schemes that they can run from that defense is going to make it a challenge for the Saxons, and I'm sure Coach is already breaking down film with his guys and getting them ready.
Absolutely, and I have a ton of respect for Coach Vosberg and what he's done with that St. John Fisher football program, and I have no doubt he's going to have his boys ready to play on Saturday. So he's
another one that really believes in the whole throw any team you want at my team. It makes us better at the end of the day. That's how they got to where they were, at least before this season. Hey, every team has a down year. Look at UW Whitewater right now, 1-3. So it happens out there. And in the meantime, you guys just keep winning games. And like I said, you joined my top 25 ballot because I thought Buffalo State was a tough team coming into last weekend, and they are. And you and your team were much the better. So congratulations on that. Any brief shout-outs you want to give out there? This is your first time joining us, so anyone you want to say hello to before we let you go?
I'd like to say hello to my son, Tyler. That's what I'd like to say hello to. That's all.
Hey, Tyler.
All right. Hey, Ty. All right, cool. All right. Well, thank you, Coach. We appreciate you joining us today, and we'll look forward to keeping track of the Saxons throughout the 2017 season, starting off with Week 5, and good luck against Fisher.
Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
James. As you know, we'll have a player guest later on, actually the next day after this interview drops, so folks will want to come back to our Facebook page for that. And as always, you can see all of our content from the week on the Facebook page in the Huddle, in the D3FB Huddle, as usual.
That's right.
So until next time, we will talk to you later, folks. Thank you for joining us.